a favor? Can you take it off?
Can I take it off?
Yeah, the bag. Like everything.
Well, I don't want to touch it, so. Yeah, of course, you're welcome.
Detailed 10-page document by one of these architects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Rue. How are you?
Mayor.
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm finding yourself.
Mayor, I see lots of people here.
Yes.
We need to protest. Injustice against one man in the United States, it's an injustice against every
Everyone.
person
Absolutely.
in the United States.
Absolutely.
What was your motivation? Why do you feel like it was needed in Mt Vernon?
Well, why it was needed in Mt Vernon? Because we are one community. We are one people. And as you said, just because something happens in Minnesota or Georgia doesn't mean it doesn't impact us here in Mt Vernon. We have our own issues. We can protest about what happens across the country, but if we're not also speaking up about what happens in our community or what we want to see improved in our community, then we open up an opportunity to be Minnesota. We don't want to wait to be Minnesota. We want to prevent Minnesota happening in our community. And today we're going to have the hard conversations, and we're going to speak about the honest truths, and we're going to move forward together in peace, in power, and in progress. Thank you so much.
So this is a proactive kind of a movement.
It's a proactive movement. It's a proactive movement, but it's also corrective action. Because while we have not experienced homicide, we have experienced lack of justice at times. And so we have to fix it. We have to fix the system, and we have to make a difference.
Let's move on, Mayor. Thank
Let's
you very
move
much.
on. Thank you. I would absolutely do that. So,
Because that's a lot of times what they end up doing is when they'll decertify
we always have to clear it out.
Recognize you for a minute. This thing I can manage. Can you open this up?
Open what up? You can trust him. You can trust him.
But we've been closed since COVID, and I refuse to open it because I don't
How you been?
you think that no massaging
Get it, cousin, man. Get it, cousin. Your cousin.
What's up, baby?
Your cousin. You ready, cousin? I'm ready, man.
I'm glad they're doing this.
Figure that out and stay away from the.
Let me hit him! Hit him, Fred! Hit him! Hey, hey! Hey! Loud! Loud! Took my money! Got my honey! Don't want me! See what's going to me! Don't do me! No done favor!
at that time they were still learning, so they didn't even know.
Bring your day home. Please feel free to reach me. Senior Chairman of the Office of Homes and
Mr. Brooklyn, can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes, you can.
Sir, how you doing?
I'm willing. How are you?
Now, we are having a problem in America. And one injustice towards a black man anywhere in America, it's an injustice against all black men in America. Do we agree with that principle?
Absolutely. What has been happening to our people for the past 400 years is an atrocity. It's an atrocity and doesn't represent what this country is supposed to be. This is supposed to be the land of the free and the home of the brave. But if it doesn't count for everyone, it shouldn't count for anyone. And the police, who have been perpetrating crimes on black America for years, have to be stopped. And we're here today in solidarity to say that enough is enough and this has to stop, and has to stop now.
But sir, do we need to be here today to know that enough, it's enough? You are a legislator. We've been having this problem, as you said, for 400 years. We will have this problem probably next month, next 6 months, something like this would happen.
It can be stopped, but it has to start somewhere. Hopefully today is when it starts to stop. What's been happening over the years when hundreds of black men and women have been killed at the hands of police with no punishment meted out to them is an atrocity to what we call justice.
So are you ready to present legislation that will not protect the police when they commit crimes?
We're going back to Albany, I believe, next week to do just that. We're going to repeal 58. The 48-hour rule has to go. The police can't be allowed to protect themselves when they're criminals.
Does police investigate police when they do criminal acts?
The police should not investigate themselves. That doesn't work. We need outside individuals who don't have an axe to grind to look into the crimes that are committed by the police.
Repeal 58.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
it's neck breaking.
Yonkers News. How you doing, my man?
That's my dude.
Yo, you one of the best, man.
But you know, I'm going to interview you since you were...
Hold on for a minute. Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell you what my problem is, okay? The things that we're seeing lately, it's no news to me. I've been seeing black people, what's up? Year after year, actually for the last 400 years, we've been biased against us, discriminated against us, injustice against us. But every time something like this happens, they pretend that it's the first time.
Right, absolutely, you're absolutely right. But I want to get to a point that I want people to realize. The biggest pandemic is a lack of love. And this is the reason why these things are happening. We set laws, but who are setting these laws? Are they setting these laws with love, or are they setting these laws to crucify us all? And like you said, this has been going on since the beginning of time. So when is these policies going to change? Do somebody have to go to jail, or do somebody have to die before the policy changes? If we don't stand up now for what's right, we're never going to make it.
I think it starts by voting right.
Yes.
Vote. Don't complain about it.
Vote.
Come out and vote. We have two pandemics going on in the United States.
Yes.
Virus
Yes.
and racism.
Yes. Yes.
Repeal 58.
Yes. I agree with you totally. And like you said, as much as we can go to these stores to get these products, we can easily go and get a vote. Go out and vote. That is the key to success in this world today.
I will catch up with you in a minute. Let's see what the mayor has to say. Thank you.
That's why we named this rally We Can't Breathe. Because when we see what we see on the news, we lose our collective breath. You take a deep gasp and you could barely breathe. And we are tired of not being able to breathe. We are tired of feeling like we're suffocating. Suffocating from injustice. Suffocating from poverty. Suffocating from poor housing. Suffocating from underfunded schools. Suffering from inequity and inequality. Suffering from disrespect. We are suffocating and we can't breathe. And we are tired. We are tired. Black men, we love you. Black men, we love you. We love you unapologetically. We love you without resistance. We love you for who you are. But we're tired of seeing you struggle. Black women, we are strong. We are resilient. We hold the community in our hands and in our hearts. We are leaders. We are supporters. We are mothers, daughters, wives, and sisters. And we are tired. And we can't breathe. So we didn't just come here tonight to be angry. We came here tonight to make a difference. We came here tonight because we want impact. And we came here tonight because we want change. Not just change in attitude, but we want to see policies created. We want to see people get involved. But we can't change the policies until the people connect. We can't allow our pain, our anger, and our frustration to cause us to tap out. We have tapped out far too long. And because we've tapped out, this is what happens when we tap out. People feel they could disrespect our communities and disrespect our people and disrespect our children. But I need you to tap back in. I don't need you to show up. I don't need you to turn up. I need you to show up. There's a difference between turning up and showing up. There's a big difference. I need you to turn up and vote. I need you to turn up and come to city council meetings. We need you to turn up at school board meetings. We need you to show up who don't feel cared about, who feel like they are the last, the least, the left out, the left behind, and the lost. That's what we need you to do. You say you don't want our communities to be overpoliced, right? I don't want our community to be overpoliced. But if the police don't police the community, then we have to police the community. We have to make sure that we're doing a neighborhood watch. So if you don't want to see a person's knee on their neck, then we need to see you walking down the block and having a conversation. We need to see you want the police to get out of the cars. We need to get out of our cars and have some conversations with young people to let them know that we love them, that we were young like them. We don't need the young people to be impressed by us because we show our perfection. We want them to know that they can beat us because we show them our imperfections and that we've succeeded and that we rise up anyhow. So if you want our young people to be healed, then you need to take the hurt and the pain that you're experiencing and you need to share it with them so that you can share your strength and your hope and your resilience, and we can teach them that we've been knocked down, but we get up every day. We get up every day. People say don't have a rally tonight. If you have a rally tonight, the community's going to rally. We had the rally tonight because we wanted to make sure that we were presenting a platform for our young people to be able to speak their pain and speak their problems and talk about policy. And that is why we are here. Leaders lead. Do you understand that? Leaders lead. And when the young people came, we said, come on, we're going to do this. So this is not my platform, this is their platform, and we put it together with them so that they can speak. And I pray tonight as we go forward that you hear their hearts. But these are the things that we are promising to do in Mt Vernon. We've already started by hiring a dynamic police commissioner in Commissioner Glenn Scott. He's no joke. The mayor's office will work with the city council to not just finish creating, but to fund our CCRB, which is a Civilian Complaint Review Board. That is the board that takes the complaints of civilians, of police misconduct, and we investigate it, and we're able to take actions. So that's one of the things that we're going to do. We're going to make sure that as we're screening our police to hire them, that we're checking their psychologicals, that we're not just looking at what they're doing now, but you got to look sometime all the way back into school, because if you kick and beat dogs, you will kick and beat people. We got to make sure that we're doing mental health evaluations so we know and understand people's emotional intelligence. That's right. That's right. We're going to make sure that when they go through the academy, that if we see issues and problems, that they may not make it through the academy. And if they're in probation and they mess up, then they can't get hired finally. But if they make it through all of that and they mess up, we're not just going to retrain them, we're going to hold them accountable. We're not just going to move them to administrative desk duty and wait for the heat to go down, but we're going to have to retrain them, discipline them, and if we can't do anything, then they got to go. They have to go. It's going to be a fair process, but it has to be a process. And we need prosecutors in office who will not just help us to prosecute the criminals on the street, but we need prosecutors in our local office here in Westchester County who will take complaints that are brought to them by police departments against their own police officers and say that they need to be fired and prosecuted. We can't have you sitting on the sideline and slow walking cases and waiting until the political pressure moves to the side and dismissing charges when we, as a community and as police commissioners and as mayors, are saying we need you to help us get rid of the bad police. Right. If you're going to put resources together to prosecute people in the community, then set aside the proper resources, the investigative team, the finances, and the time needed to help us prosecute bad police. No one likes a bad cop worse than a good cop. We have a lot of good cops. We have a lot of good police officers. But we have to be honest about the ones that we have that are not good. And we can't just move them from Mt Vernon and Yonkers to White Plains. We gotta fire them. We gotta fire them. That's the bottom line. So another policy that we want to see is the repeal of 50A. The repeal of 50A. What is 50A? 50A is a law that protects the histories of officers. It covers up their bad doings and their charges and their disciplinary actions and the complaints that they have in the community. And so Mr. Floyd was killed by a police officer who had 19 former complaints. Now, he wasn't prosecuted on all of them, he wasn't disciplined on all of them, but you can't have 19 complaints and none of them were right. Like they say, even a clock is right twice a day. 19 charges. But these are the people that we unfortunately allowed to skate. We cannot complain about the blue wall of silence, y'all, if we continue to hold up no snitching in the hood. Now, we want our professionals to be professionals. We want our police to be professionals. But we also need to make sure in the community that we're holding ourselves accountable at the same time. So it's not just all on them. There's some changes that we have to make. So tonight, as we come together and as we rally, and as we lift our collective voices, as we understand that in and of ourselves that we are insufficient and we can't make the change, but collectively we are more powerful than anyone can ever recognize. People don't respond to riots, they respond to votes. They respond to census numbers. They respond to people volunteering and walking in their community. So I'm going to wrap up, but tonight I ask that we come here in peace and that we come here to find solutions and that we move forward in our community. We don't want to wait for a police-involved homicide, and that's why we're being proactive and not reactive. And we want to hear the voices of our young people because we understand your hurt and we understand your pain. But it's not just the young people, it's those who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s, 80s, and 90s who are tired of systemic racism, tired of injustice. We deserve more, we want to see more, and together we're going to do more and be more. God bless y'all, and let's move together.
God bless you, man. My man.
I'm going to introduce to you Mr. Hutcherson. Like I said, it was our young people. And he sent me an email in the middle of the night. I turned around and I returned it because, you know, when you're a leader, you're up late. That's what we do. And so Xavier said, I'm a young man, I'm a father, and I want to see change. I want to make sure that my children have a different world and a different light. And he said, I'd like to do something, and I'd like to see if the city could come together and support me. So this is what this effort is. We are supporting the voices of our young people. And so I'm going to bring to you Mr. Xavier Hutcherson.
I'm okay with I'm okay with that response for me. You know, I'm known by some, but not by everybody. Can I get a thunderous applause for the mayor? And I'm not even.
All right.
As God is out of her, God like promise. The stars that don't come from here, they don't come here after they get rich. They don't send the money after they get rich. I've heard a lot more of those type of people. Just to start off, everything she said is truthful. 12 something in the morning, almost 1 o'clock, I'm up. Even from not posting on social media, I'm on it, I'm scrolling, I see things. And this is not new to me. I won't call myself an activist, but I've been engaged since 2009. I've been engaged with the NAACP. I've learned juvenile justice, I've learned civic engagement. I've held titles in that organization. I've done rallies, I've done a whole bunch of things. And despite what I've done, nothing has changed. And instead of getting discouraged, that just lets me know that there's more work to do. When I don't know what the work is to do, I lead on my religious beliefs. If I don't know where to go, if it's not clear, I'm going to pray it out. Everybody doesn't have to see it that way. That's how I see it. If I don't know where I'm going, I'm going to let them lead me. But I don't get discouraged. I don't stop moving. I don't let what's still going on keep me from pushing on. Because if I stop, it doesn't stop. But if I keep going and it keeps going, it got to meet me every way that it goes. Until it take me out, it got to see me. And then if it takes me out, but I leave something with somebody else, then they got to see them after. Then they got to see the person after them. But while it sees these people, those people are going to have people behind them. So it goes from me to 3, to 6, to 9, however it goes, I'm okay with that. Black women, I see you. I love you. I see on social media so many times where black women, we're here for black men, they're not here for us. I'm here for us. I know men that are 10 times doing better than me, and I know they love black women. So don't watch what you see. Don't let what they show you make you believe that there ain't a bunch of us out here that love you. I came from a black woman. If you want to take it outside of family, it took a black woman being in the office to make me get up here, because there's been a bunch of them before, and I never wanted to work with them. Since 2009, I've been working in the city. I've been doing things in the city. I've gone out of state. I've gone to Buffalo. I've gone to Long Island. I have never wanted to do anything here with the leadership that was here. It took a black woman to get me up there. Black men, I see you as well. I just want you to see you. I want you to look in the mirror and not just see what they're showing you. Don't even just see what you know to be you. Look deeper than what you know to be you. I didn't even want her to come up here, but she just, she won't detach. But this is who I do it for, because if I wanted it to go different, we could have went on social media, we could have had our own rally, but then who have we been met with? Instead, let's go to the one that leads it. Let's get her behind us, because if she's behind us, everybody else got to fall, even if they don't want to. Go to the top, as high as you can, even if it starts with just where we live. Something, it means something. And lastly, to the people that are not black, I see you. I appreciate you. I want you all to understand that we don't have a problem with all lives matter. We have a problem when you say it in response to Black Lives Matter. That's when we have a response. Every time it comes up, it seems all lives matter. That's okay. Let me bring up something I said on social media before I stop. When a black man kills a black man and gets caught, he goes to jail.
Every time.
If you want to take it outside of law enforcement, when a regular civilian kills a black man and it's not one of us, they get the benefit of the doubt. Every which way, they get the benefit of the doubt. And this is not to be controversial. We want you to understand where we're coming from. All lives matter is great. But you can't say all lives matter until we matter. We're equal. We're with y'all. We can do so much. But anybody that says we don't need y'all is a fool. Anybody that looks like me that says we don't need y'all is a fool. We need you. They've broken us down so much, we couldn't get to the top to where we're supposed to be without you. Some people don't want to admit that, that's fine. I'm telling you, we need you. But instead of saying all lives matter, when we're chanting that, just say Black Lives Matter. If you want to say all lives matter, have an all lives matter protest. Do that to the side. Don't come to a Black Lives Matter protest and say all lives matter, because then you're going to get controversy back to you. And we're not trying to be controversial. We didn't start this. If you know your history, we didn't ask to come here. If you take a dog from their owner and then they bite you because you don't treat them right, you don't know what they like, you don't know when they want to go outside, you don't know what they like, even music, you don't know what they like, and then they snap on you. Is it their fault? Or should you have tried to figure out what they were? And I'm not comparing us to dogs, but our attitude, our hunger, we are dogs. You cannot take us, you cannot lock us up, you can't put us on a leash. There's no way you're gonna make us bend to things that don't help us. If we have to, we have to, but we don't have to. We have the intelligence, we have the numbers, and like I said, this was scheduled on a Sunday morning. Not even scheduled. This was spoke about Sunday morning in the middle of the night. She approved by the time I woke up. We talked about this Sunday, finalized yesterday, we here today. I was nervous about signs. I was worried about everything coming together because this was short planned. Y'all came out. All it took was social media. Social media is like a vote. When we go to cancel somebody, your comment is a vote. Look what happens when we get on social media and we make things trend and artists start taking words back that they said with so much confidence. Things start to go back. That's a vote. Let's get the right people in office so that she can appoint the right people. Let's get into the levels higher than right here so that they can do for us what we need done. All lives matter, not until Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Good evening. I don't do well speaking to crowds. I'm gonna let y'all know, so I'm gonna just read it. I appreciate y'all. So to piggyback off of what Xavier was saying, we do know that we're up next, right? And I'm speaking to the youth. We're up next. All these positions have to be filled. Okay? More often than not, women will defend their man to the death. The same angry black woman y'all speak negatively on will be the same one to save you, and that's just food for thought. All honesty, that's exactly what I'm here to do, except on a larger scale. I'm an advocate for my black people, my black city. With that being said, we aren't going to go about this the way we have, or the way we've seen. We're going to come together. It's time for us to seriously unite. Why are we so scared to trust one another? Why are we so scared to speak up and stand up for what one believes in? I mean, I know fear has a funny way. but that's all right. Another major factor of our absence in these tragic times is sheer ignorance. Yes, I said it. If we can scroll on social media for hours, we can research our history.
Say that again. Say that again, please. Say that again.
If we can scroll on social media for hours, we can research our history.
Right.
We can also fill out that 2020 census so that we can obtain all the funds from the government that our city actually needs. A part of the reason why we can't breathe is because we don't do enough to clear the air entirely. Voting is extremely important. Period.
Period.
Rumor has it that our votes don't count in the presidential elections, and I'm a witness that they do count in my city. Voting for the district attorney, the mayor, the comptroller, alongside other elected officials in our city is extremely important because that's where we begin to see the real change because we are 100% a part of the decision. The other day I had an associate openly ask me, why am I so upset? Girl. I am upset because I've had to witness black men thrown on their heads to end up with 26 stitches down his crown. He was my boyfriend at the time. I'm upset because my brother fought for this country and they did him so filthy that he killed himself and left a note explaining why. I'm upset because gangs were originally created to protect us from police brutality. But y'all have turned your backs on your true purpose. It is time to get back to self. I'm upset because for 401 years we have been oppressed and depressed. I'm upset because I'm black and I'm hurting because all of my people are hurting. I'm upset because I've lived 27 years and I've seen no change, sis. I know I'm not God, but I'm just trying to see what I can do. And I refuse to die in vain, for no reason. I refuse to let my daughter, anyone's daughter, anyone's son, to grow up in a world where people will judge her because of her skin color and possibly kill her just because they can. We can't breathe. Thank you.
All right, I don't know how I'm gonna go after these dynamic speakers. But what I will say, this has one theme. This theme out here today is unify, not riot, okay? I'll tell you all the social media and everybody out there that expected this to be a riot, not a unification rally, okay? They're trying to send people into this community to start riots, okay? And we shut it down, okay? Look at this. This is beautiful. This is the way things should be. I went out today and I said I'm so frustrated that if I keep speaking from the heart, it may go totally left field. So I had to prepare something because I wanted to keep on track and keep on point and not stand up here for an hour ranting and raving, okay? Because there's one thing that an old black man is just, you can't stop them. They've been through everything, okay? And you know, we can't breathe. We are having a rally for unity. unity between the police and the community, unity between the community and the community. So something like the killing of George Floyd does not happen in our community. What I want is a rally today that has an end game. That we come from here today with a plan to correct the issues, not to have a rally for a rally for a rally. All right, to prevent anything like this from happening in this community. All right, breaking a store window is not as important as voting. Letting the politicians know that as an underserved community, we will not continue to be that way by our votes. We need to complete the census. The census is going to bring over $2,700 per person into the city to get us better services. We have to demand of our DA's office to prosecute people. We have to demand of our DA's office to prosecute the bad cops that I gave them to prosecute. And they are too scared to do it, worrying about a vote. I want to fire bad cops so I can get good cops into the system. Every time I find a bad actor in my police department, every time I find a bad disciplinary, I look for a reason why that happened. What caused that action? Is it a lack of training? Is it prejudice? Is it lack of supervision? Or is it lack of policy and procedure? And what I immediately do is when I sign off on that discipline to give them their charges, I go in there and I put a policy in place to correct that issue. So that the language in the police department is clear and the punishment that's going to happen to bad actors in my department is clear. We have a civilian complaint review board drafted. Legislation's been approved. We just need office space and staffing. And this COVID put a hold on that, but we're going to go through this and have one. Proper training is being given. Remedial training is being given. Community immersion programs are in effect, where new officers and officers that are not from this community walk the community, talk to people, get involved with businesses, get involved with churches, and introduce themselves to the public. We're working with the building department, the fire department, recreation, city clerk, to rid the city of blight. Sometimes crime is caused because people are living in blight, because they need a fence fixed. That's why the hoods can hang out in that area, because of some economic circumstance that could be fixed with a little attention. I recently created a violent crime unit. They're working on gun violence, gangs, and drugs. I got a new major case unit working on unsolved homicides in the city. There's not going to be any more rallies of people up here crying that the police don't give them no attention and won't give them a call back. The intelligence unit is working every agency in Westchester and New York City. Some form of PAL is going to come back in the city. The Police Youth Academy is coming back. The auxiliary police department is being revamped and is coming back. These are a few of the visions that I have in mind. The mayor's team of street soldiers and generals is helping to bring ideas to fruition. They're helping with the PAL. They're helping with things like that. They're helping put me in contact with the people I need to be put into contact with. Okay, because the people won't speak directly to me. My question for you is, what can you do for me? I'm going to turn this over to Dave Clark. What's up, Mt Vernon? like the commissioner said, this is a beautiful thing. And it's sad that a tragedy brought us here. But before I even get started speaking, in respect for George Floyd, I'd like everybody in solidarity to take one knee, please. George Floyd could have been me. You know, people don't understand the plight of the black officer in a black community, in society, period. We can all stand up, because I know. So just think about that. We all were in pain just now for 60 seconds. Imagine George Floyd on that ground. I'm super impressed by Mt Vernon. I love Mt Vernon so much, and this is the beauty of Mt Vernon. Last night I talked about passing the torch. And in Mt Vernon, we kind of have a bad history with that part of what has to go on to make society better. We always talking about the young people. This is for the future. This is for the young people. This is for the young people. But if we just talking the talk and not walking the walk, the young people, they understand that we are all full of it. We're not going to make Mt Vernon better by giving the youth false hope. We're not going to give the youth, no one's going to be better here when we keep giving them false hope. When we keep telling them at this rally that this next thing is going to come, and then after we walk away from here, they don't see it. This man right here saved my life. It'll be 20 years that I lost my brother. So many directions that I could have took. Being angry, doing the wrong thing. I was out in the hood all the time. But I have friends that love me, although I was in the hood with them. They never, ever pointed me in the direction where I would get in trouble. So I'm the cop that made it through because of the choices that I made. Also because of the friends that I had, although they might have been in the streets. So when I came for the process to become a police officer, a lot of people in that building didn't want me as a police officer. But this man wanted me as a police officer. So the torch was passed from him to me. My whole career, he may not know, but I've tried to emulate him. I haven't gone in the supervisory route. I stayed in the detective route, but he was the training supervisor, which handles the backgrounds, which handles hiring, which handles training the police officers. And I always admired that, although I did tons of other things within the department. So with me now being in training, what I will say is it's time for me to start passing the torch. But I need the community to be able to pick up the torch and run with it. The reason why we're here today and the reason why things are happening in the communities all across the country is because as black folk, because of the things that we have been through, our relationship with the police is always negative. So that's not a profession that we want to run to. But if you want to defeat a system, you have to join that system. You have to become a part of that system, and then you have to be willing to change that system. So my pledge today is anybody from this city. This ain't just a black thing. Black, white, Spanish, Brazilian, Portuguese. We are the melting pot of Westchester. Everything is in here. We are seasoning. We the seasoning of Westchester.
We Lowry's.
What I'm saying is, the people from the community have to start taking this test. It is a good, honorable profession. You can take care of your family, you can serve your community, and you can give back. You're not going to be a millionaire, but you will live good enough to take care of your family. My pledge today is, everybody that has my social media, you can DM me, inbox me, you can email me, come at work. I will guide you through how you got to take the test. I've even partnered with some workout people from Mt Vernon, some young people, so that you will be prepared for the physical agility test, because I can tell you within my career, despite the ups and downs, Mt Vernon has always held me down when it came to being a police officer. So if Mt Vernon can hold me down being born and raised here, imagine if this entire crowd was people from the community. We understand each other. We know the climate of our city. We know the language, we know the slang, we know the ins and we know the outs. Confrontations would be a whole lot less, but we have to commit to that. The last thing that I want to touch on before I go is 21st century policing. That was proposed years ago, and I had the opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. when Barack Obama had proposed it. So, a lot of people want to talk about policy, and they want to talk about what was set in place, and what was here and what wasn't here. When the things happened in Ferguson and all of those years, because it's not like things stopped, policy was put in place. Policy was put in place for police departments. A guideline was put in place for them to follow certain things. But if there's no buy-in from the organization that's supposed to be protecting and serving, it's never going to work. So to the officers out here that I work with, we know that our commissioner is fully committed to 21st century policing. You got to be committed to 21st century policing. It can't just be me. It feels good when the community sees me doing all the community stuff and I'm always out here, but it would feel even better if all 200 of us were doing it together. So Mt Vernon, like I said, I'm super proud of today. I'm full of emotions, but this was a start, and this is one of the most positive things, and it definitely touches my soul seeing all of us unified today. There's tons of officers out in the crowd. Introduce yourself to them. Officers, introduce yourself to the people out here. Mt Vernon people are good people.
To any outsiders that are here, we welcome you today. We welcome you today. Thank you for being here with us. I pray that everyone gets home safely. I pray that we all engage each other out here today. And I pray for a better Mount Vernon. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Okay. My name is Siobhan Vernon from Mt Vernon. Why is that joke? And I'm overwhelmed. I feel anxious, and sometimes I do feel like it's hopeless. Between COVID, a recession that could end up becoming a depression, police brutality, and of course my own personal traumas, it really feels like hopeless. You know, like how many times we're gonna rally, how many times we're gonna do this. And you know, what came to my mind was what our lovely mayor here said a while back. She said, when spider webs unite, they can tie up a lion. So individually, it feels impossible, right? But if we come together as a community, because we know Mt Vernon to be a community, we can do what seems to be impossible. But we have to be consistent, right? We cannot complain about complain about the lack of healthcare services when COVID arrives. We can't wait for COVID to come before we talk about these inequities in our healthcare systems. We can't wait until a pandemic, a recession, before we talk about income inequality. And we can't wait for another hashtag before we address police brutality. We have to be consistent. So like, what does consistency look like, right? I understand every person here is like super energized. We want to make a change, but that means making the decision today that you're going to do something tomorrow. And that something could be as simple as saying hello to someone you don't know here, introducing yourself to your neighbors, having conversation, because you add value in ways that you would never, ever understand. You might think, oh, that's something everyone knows, but until you have the conversation, you just don't know what anyone else knows, right? Consistency looks like going out and voting for the school board trustee so that you can decide who's going to be deciding how your child is educated, right? Because we need to know that they care about our children and the children of this community. It looks like, and you know what, it looks like voting for the DA, right? Like we have a police chief that is passionate about the things we're passionate about because we have a mayor who is passionate about the things we're passionate about, right? So we need to take it to the next level. DA, you vote for your DA on June 23rd. You need to know, like, who are you voting for and why, you know? And if you don't want to vote, fine, you don't believe in the system, right? That means that you need to have conversations and say, okay, what type of change needs to happen in Mt Vernon? Like, do people need to be introduced to different career choices? Do we need financial literacy? Like, what exactly is the issue? Because people here are more than capable. I go to networking events. I'm meeting VPs at JP Morgan from Mt Vernon. I went on an interview at a law firm, multi-million-dollar law firm, managing partners from Mt Vernon.
She's a lawyer.
I'm just saying, I meet people. I went to Google Cup. It's an organization of elite black people. Walked in a room, first person I see from Mt Vernon. We're capable. So why is it that why are we not the new Tulsa already? It's because we're not having these conversations. We think we can do it by ourselves. Sean cannot do it by herself. I can't do anything by myself. We have to unite. The spider webs cannot tie up the lion by themselves. And until we take all of that in and actually say, like, okay, even tonight, before you leave here, introduce yourself to someone you do not know. Like, it's literally that small, and do it tomorrow. You know, but shop at a local business. Don't wait until a recession when we each don't have $400 in the account, $500 to take care of the next thing, to be like, damn, you know, how are we gonna get through? No, we cannot look outward any longer. It's time for us to recognize the community that we have here and appreciate the unity in this community. And that's it.
Tell it, Ralph. Tell it.
Reverend, tell it. Good evening, everyone. I'm the old man. All the young folks, I guess they wanted to mix it a little so there's no discrimination with age. So I'm the old one. All right, Reverend Troy Cohen, United Black Clergy. What I want to do before I just start, and I'm not going to be long because this is your thing. We want our youth to talk. I'm just going to ask all the clergy to come stand with me, because it's important that you see that you also have faith leaders that's part of this, right? That is not, you're not just here by yourself, but you got people that pray for you, you got people that are preaching, you got people that look like you that's here. And there's a number of us pastors and ministers that's here, as you can see. I need us. They're still coming. Look at all of this, right? Right? Pastors, ministers. Imam, we got Imam Musa. We have rabbis also. I think we have Rabbi Barsalai and some of our other rabbis. No, we call him Rabbi Stephen Cole. Shalom. But very quickly, and not to hold you, I'm so impressed with this, to see our young folk. I know for me, I'm getting older, and I depend on you to become the great people that you can be. What I would like you to do very quickly, look to the person next to you and say to my brother and sister, you are kings and queens.
You are king and queen.
You're not a nigga, you're not a nigga, and you're not a bitch.
That's right. You better speak it.
You're not a nigga, and you're not a bitch. Oh, I'm a pastor. I used to smoke weed like y'all, but the Holy Ghost got in my lungs instead of the weed. So I ain't perfect like y'all. I'm still struggling, trying to be. I don't do weed. I don't do that anymore. I did that when I was young like you, and we had real stuff back then. Y'all smoke weed and want to burn up stuff. I gotta come back.
Come back, bring it back.
I'm on camera, I forgot. This is United Black Clergy. But I'm the least of the great ones. I'm the least of the great ones. But very quick, I just want to share. Yes, the tragedy with George Floyd was horrific. But I want to put this in perspective. Since we as black folk got onto this land, we've always gone through this. This is nothing new. Lynching, rapes, murders have historically been in our community. Historically, this ain't new. I was on the phone with Eric Gardner's mother yesterday. And we're looking at doing a national plan in order to go down to D.C. And that's something later. But again, for us, she buried her son 5 years ago. I can't breathe. 5 years later, we back again. Can't breathe. Right? It's not new. But what I like to do is put little something in perspective. I was young like you. And in my youth, that was during the civil rights movement. And I know some of our young people say, oh, that's old, Dr. King, oh, that's old stuff. But here's the truth. It was the young folk that gave Dr. King his strength. It was SNCC. It was the Southern Christian leadership. It was the young folk that was in the restaurants, that was in Woolworth, that was out there in the street. It was the young folk that got together and started to vote and put forth voting campaigns. It was the young folk that made the change. And it's going to take you. I need you to point to yourself and say it's going to take me to make the change. And we pray with you. And you got pastors that are with you. Don't exclude us as if we're not important. We live the same life like you. And many of us will tell you their story. Don't exclude us, because here's the truth. The truth of the matter is, when we were in slavery, we didn't have social media. When we was in slavery, we didn't have freedom. But what we did have as people of color, and I wish somebody would grab somebody by the hand, what we had as people of color was faith. And our faith told us that we could make it.
That's right.
And it was our great-great-great-grandparents that held that faith.
That's right.
And it was someone preaching and saying that if we trust God, all things are possible. And we're standing here right now and we're still claiming what was claimed 400 years ago. That by faith, we can make it. So God bless you, we love you, and we're standing with you. This is your program. So we're here to support you. Thank you. All right.
We want to thank our clergy. We're just bringing some of these people up here because we want you to know who has your back. We have your back. We have your back.
And we have yours too.
Right.
We have yours too.
We have your back as well.
So on Thursday at 3 p.m., right, Pastor? The clergy will be out in front of the police department. And they'll be having their own rally out in front of the police department. So if you want to come and support the clergy on Thursday at 3, they're coming out there to speak their truth and to show their support, and also make sure that we keep our law enforcement in Mount Vernon accountable. So we have a lot of elected officials here today. They're not all going to talk, so don't worry, but we're going to have one. Come on. We have our county executive, George Latimer, here. And I'm going to say this. George Latimer is from Mount Vernon. South side, y'all. George Latimer grew up in Mount Vernon. So when people want to say that nothing good comes out of Mount Vernon, our county executive is from Mount Vernon. Janet D. Fior, the chief judge of the state of New York, is from Mount Vernon. You're from Mount Vernon. I'm from Mount Vernon. You're from Mount Vernon.
Heavy D's from Mount Vernon.
Heavy D's from Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is lit. And we have to stop acting like we don't matter. Because it's not going to move in the right direction unless Mount Vernon moves in the right direction. We're lifting as we climb. And I always say Westchester is only as strong as Mount Vernon. So I'm going to hand it over to the county executive, but I'm going to say this publicly. Thank you. On Saturday, Saturday, he called me. He called me on Saturday. He said, Madam Mayor, what do you need? And he's not just talking about COVID, but for policing and for things in the community. Our county executive and his whole team has been a support. He didn't leave Mount Vernon and forget Mount Vernon. He continues to give back to Mount Vernon. And he's unapologetic about it. So thank you for $26 million for Memorial Field. $26 million for Memorial Field. And I just want to acknowledge you. I'm going to acknowledge you because we don't have time for all of them to speak because we want to hear from you. But we have our Congressman Elliot Engel standing with us today. We have our Senator Jamal Bailey standing with us today. We have our Assemblyman Gary Pretlow standing with us today. We have our Deputy County Executive Kim Jenkins standing with us today. We have our Senator Alessandra Biaggi, I didn't recognize her with the face covering, standing with us today. We have our Lisa Doe Hofflich, and she is here representing United States Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. We have Lyndon Williams, our county legislator, standing with us. We have David Tuviolo, our county legislator, standing with us. We have our city council president, Lisa Copeland, standing with us. Lisa A. Copeland. How crazy is it that we met in 7th grade because we were supposed to fight? And now I'm the mayor and she's the city council president. What about that? Oh, we were supposed to fight. She came to my homeroom class and was like, what? And I was like, what? And then we became friends. Trust me, we were young. We have our councilman Marcus Prippett standing with us. We have our councilwoman Janice Duarte standing with us. I don't see her, but I'm assuming we have our councilwoman Delia Farquharson somewhere in the crowd. I don't see her. Well, hopefully she's here standing with us. We have our city councilman Derek Thompson standing with us. There might be other electeds in the crowd, but I also want to just point over here. Can my commissioners, my directors, can you please raise your hand because they're standing with us. We have the Westchester Guardians. They're standing with us. We have the Delta Sigma Thetas. I see my Divine Nine. I see Phi Beta Sigma. I see the AKAs. I see the Alphas. I see the Omega Psi Phis. All right? We see the Beauticians. I see the Alpha. I see the Kappa Alpha Psi. We have Mimi Roca. Mimi Roca is running for district attorney. Mimi Roca is running for district attorney. And she's here today standing with us. So I just wanted to acknowledge that we have support in the House. And they come through Mt Vernon because they know what Mt Vernon means. Now the key is we have to know our value. They know our value. But if we don't know our value, we won't press them to make sure that we get our value out of them. So with that, Mr. Latimer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's nice to go home. I was born in that building right around the corner. Who else was born there? Mt Vernon Hospital. How many of you want to see it stay a hospital? And I worked right around that corner, 100 Stevens Avenue. It was also my draft board back in the day, but you got to be old to remember that. And I remember when that was a movie theater. And I remember when there was a car, one of those companies would teach you how to drive over there. Tony Marino. Down now. Tony Marino, thank you. The only guys who could answer that question were people like me and Gary Pretlow that needed help standing up after we kneeled. I'm saying, Gary, sorry about that. But I got my friend David Gladman out there in the audience. We were together at Washington Junior High School. It's called Thornton now, but it was Washington then. So what is a white man going to say on a day like today? You've just heard strong black voices speaking to your heart. And there is no white man that can talk about what it's like to be black in this society. No white man. I grew up on South 14th Avenue between 2nd and 3rd. I was the only white kid in the neighborhood. I wasn't black. I didn't have anybody ever pull me over when I was driving because I was driving while black. I never had anybody follow me around the store when I walked into the store because I was a black kid, not a white kid. When white kids walk in the store, they just assume you're okay. Black kids get hassled. I saw that in my friends. I saw it right over here. I don't know what it is now. It was called In Town at some point in time. They had comic books in there, and we didn't have any money to buy any comic books, but we'd go there and look at the comic books, and my friends were hassled because they were black, and nobody ever bothered me because I was white. So what do I learn out of that experience? The years have gone by. Now I'm sitting up there with Ken Jenkins, Deputy County Executive. Take a second round of applause. first African American deputy county executive in the history of the county. And you have made history, because the truth of the matter is, when I was 20 years old, 15 years old, you know what they'd say? Is Mt Vernon ready for a black mayor? You who were there, do you remember that? When they would say that. Are you ready for a black mayor? Are you ready for a black assemblyman? Are you ready for a black senator? You got 2 senators, you got a black one, you got a white one. Do you have an African-American city council president and an African-American county legislator? All of those things were not thought of when I was 15 years old. This community has proven that leadership exists regardless of the color of your skin. That's what Dr. King wanted to see. The content of your character, not the color of your skin. Now I know how it works for you guys that have a lady in your life. Could be your wife, your girlfriend. Hopefully you don't have both. If you're any kind of a guy, you get a list from that lady, right? And she says, honey, I want you to do these 10 things. And when you go down that list of 10 things, the first 3 things are damn near impossible. And you can't do them by yourself. You don't have the money, which you really don't want to do. You just want to find some place to go off and do something else, watch sports, be with your house. But you don't leave without a list. And we have a list. Ken and myself and Lyndon and David and the rest of us in county government. Our list is, don't give a speech. Our list is, deliver recreation at Memorial Field for the people of Mt Vernon. Deliver it! Deliver it! With a skate park. And modern and clean and looks good. But that's not the only thing we have to deliver. Deliver some affordable housing here.
Right.
Help the ministers that want to build a housing for the people and their congregation, and for seniors as well as young families. And that's not all that's on the list. Deliver jobs to Mt Vernon. If you want black men to have a future, give them an opportunity to earn a living. When you earn a living and you're with your woman and your family, and you can be a man and stand up, or be a woman and stand up, then you have dignity when you have that paycheck. That's on my list that I leave Mt Vernon with. I'm going to be going here to another town and another town tonight. Ken's got a few other towns to go to. And one of us is going to be on the Hudson, and one of us is going to be on the Bronx River. But Mt Vernon is still inside of me every day. I played ball at Brush Park, and I don't forget that. And I didn't have anybody drive me to Brush Park. I walked down Mundy Lane to Sanford Boulevard to Brush Park, right? I went by Denzel Washington's house. Who knew he was going to be famous? And when I lived in this town, I graduated high school, the class of 1970, 50 years ago this year. Who would have imagined 50 years would go by this fast? You young folk can't imagine that. But you know what? We owe you, the class of 70, owes something to the class of 20. So that as you grow up, the stories of these things become something that is told about the past, not something that's of the present. We don't need another George Floyd to remember about. We need to be the last story. We need what happened to Breonna in Louisville, Kentucky to be the last story. And the generation that's just about done, we need to give that to the generation that's just about ready to take over. God bless you, Madam Mayor. You got friends here. We're with you.
Okay, so before I introduce myself, I am going to say a quote. Protesting is never a disturbance of the peace. Corruption, injustice, war, and intimidation are disturbances of the peace. Brian H. McGill. Good evening, everyone. We are gathered here today in honor of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, and the hundreds of other black men and women who have lost their lives at the hands of those who swore to serve and protect. Due to systematic racism, African Americans have been oppressed for centuries, and we've always always had a history of fighting back. Although there are other races and ethnicities that have been discriminated against, such as Asians, when they were labeled the carriers of the quote-unquote Chinese virus, and Hispanics when immigration laws were strongly enforced, which tore families apart and put kids in cages. African Americans have always been on the front line fighting with them. But now, it's our time. Black Lives Matter is more than making noise. It is more than the rioting and the looting that the media is making it out to seem. Black Lives Matter is the movement of solidarity and unity between all races that shines a light on the injustices Black people specifically have faced at the hands of the police. Those names that I mentioned before are only a few on a very long list of African Americans who were killed for the smallest of infractions. Breonna Taylor, who was shot 8 times for simply being in her house. Eric Garner, who was strangled to death for selling cigarettes. Philandro Castile, who was shot for false accusations of a robbery. And George Floyd, who was intentionally suffocated after a false accusation of a forged $20 bill. They are why we are here today. We are convened here because Black Lives Matter. Black lives have always been deemed as expendable because we are labeled as thugs instead of people fighting for their supposedly like
We never left. You was always here. See? They don't deport us.
Black Lives Matter. I'm here for my children. I have 3 black sons and 1 black daughter. Black Lives Matter. I put my life down for my children. And we ain't burning down nothing but marijuana.
I like that one. So what did you say?
We are not burning anything in Mt Vernon but marijuana. I have my license. Black Lives Matter, marijuana matter. Keep you from dying from cancer and lupus and COVID-19. Yeah.